Welcome back to In Our Experience, a podcast where we talk about self-improvement within the context of friendship. I'm Nirel.
And
I'm Sydney. Wait, was I not supposed to?
She usually says I'm Amanda.
we
but go
didn't
ahead.
coach you. We didn't
Wait,
coach
should we
you.
start over?
No, it's okay. Keep going. It's natural.
You know how the show must go on.
Okay, I'll stop. I'll wait.
I'm Amanda.
And this is our mutual friend, Sydney. We all went to college together. Sydney and I met before we committed to Claremont McKenna College, where we were on like a little trip for Black people and such to see like whether or not we would want to go.
Mhm.
And we became friends then. We kind of stayed friends. We were like talking about like when we were going to move in and if we were going to like blah, blah, blah. And then just continued being friends throughout the course of college. How did you meet Amanda?
I met Amanda through you, actually. I feel like the first time I met you, it was either in Colin's dining hall or in your room. I can't remember which one, but it was definitely like either before or after practice that you guys had. And that's how we met, I think. That's my memory.
Yeah, I don't have a specific memory of like the first time.
Yeah.
But it was
You
definitely
just kind of were brought into my life.
And we wanted to have Sydney on because she is one of the funniest people we know, but
Oh.
also because we wanted to talk about what it means to be a cog in the machine, the state of the world today. I think you've been in corporate, right?
I've been in corporate for like 4 years now, yeah.
Yeah, which is the main cog hub. But of course, like to be a quote unquote cog in the machine, which to me is just like to be going through the motions of life and feeling kind of insignificant, like just having mundane, monotonous tasks that you're doing. Usually that happens in corporate, but it happens in every space of life, in my opinion. So, Melly, do you feel like you've ever felt like a cog in the machine, either in like because of the job that you're in or because of the hobbies you have or something? And then did you end up changing it?
I feel like I'm constantly worried about feeling like a cog because there are just so many systems in place everywhere and everything is like set up so that we have to function a certain way in order for the whole system to function. So I don't know. Like I was talking to Nirel the other day about how I kind of avoid getting into a routine sometimes because I'm afraid of feeling like a cog. Like I'm like, oh, I can't do CrossFit because then I'll be like part of a cult. And I don't want to be like one of those like CrossFit cogs, you know? Or like I can't run a half marathon because then I'll be like one of those people who runs a half marathon in their 20s. And that's just
Basic.
it's just too basic. So yeah, it's like a constant battle.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I just feel like I go to work when I start feeling like, oh my God, I'm like stuck in a traditional cycle or something, is when I basically just go to work in a car, sit on a computer, drive back from work, and then go to the gym, come back to my house, and then sit on a computer, either doing like more work or watching TV. And then like sometimes I go get wine with my friends. And that's my entire life.
Ugh.
And I'm just like, I cannot live this traditional bullshit. And yet I think it's so easy to get funneled into that, not only because you don't have time to do much else, but because it's like more prioritized, I guess. Like I went to Nashville and I didn't have work. And I literally like immediately woke up, went into nature. I was working in a community garden, talking with other people that had similar values about like social justice and social change. And we were like literally pulling berries and tomatoes and all these things off of the little vines and like in the garden. And then we packaged them up. We were bringing them to single moms, homeless people. And I was just like, I feel like this is how humans are supposed to live. Like, I don't think I'm supposed to be indoors as much as I am, on my computer as much as I am, like driving as much as I am. And so I feel like whenever I get back into those routines, I just start crashing out slowly but surely. Like, it's not a good situation.
Sydney?
Yeah, no, that's very powerful. I think same with me. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of conversation around like third spaces right now.
Mhm.
And like everyone's like, we need to get back into our third spaces because that is how we like disrupt ourselves from like the daily routines. And, you know, there's like an uptick in like people wanting to live in these like co-living communities where it's like you can like kind of experience like kind of a disruption of your monotony because it's like back. I think what people talk about when they speak about like
Colds.
cults and things like that is like the removal of it's weird. I feel like the only way that we see that kind of community building is in spaces like that, where it's like, oh yeah, like you join it. We talk about in LA, especially run clubs, they're all cults, right? Which is true. But like it's this idea of like, oh yeah, like is it a cult or is it just like a bunch of people that like each other and find ways to like hang out and like have a community and things like that? And there's like, a fine line. But I think unfortunately the nature of like like how we are supposed to survive in this system, everything has to fit into the life that you like are told that you have to live, right? Like I
Mhm.
have to go to my 9 to 5, like I have to make money to survive. So of course, like if someone presents me with, oh, I can go running, but like I can go running Friday at like after 4 and like Tuesdays at 6 with these people, it fits into my schedule. I can make it work.
Mhm.
And like it does become like a cog-like existence because the primary function that I have, which is to work and like survive, everything else has to come after that, unfortunately. And so it feels like, yeah, like I would love to break out and I love to do different things, but it's like, how do I do that when the first thing, my first priority, it like dictates everything else. And so it becomes really, really hard. And I feel like that one thing making you a cog can really lead to the rest of your life becoming very like mechanistic, I guess.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah.
But you are leaving the
Yes.
US.
Yes.
So I feel like
Yeah.
engaging
Yeah.
in flight
Yeah.
is one
So
way
like I'm leaving.
that you're
So
disrupting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm disrupting it in that way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah. What made you
Yeah.
decide?
So I am in the process of becoming like Miss Melly and going to law school soon. And so last September, I think was when I decided all of this. I just felt like I've been working in corporate. I'm a consultant. I've been working in consulting for like a little over 4 years now. October will be my 5th year anniversary. And it got to a point where I just, woo! It got to a point where I just felt like, I'm 27 and at the time I was 26 and I felt like at 26, 27, I feel like is the age where people start to like look back and be like, okay, like what's going on?
Women
Like,
do.
yeah, our quarter life crisis, I guess people
I
call
think
it.
it is.
Yeah.
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 I've seen a lot of women be like, okay, I'm actually like
Yeah.
now dating
Yes.
to find someone to
Someone.
marry or something
Yeah.
like that, and
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah.
my dad and my finances.
Yeah.
I cannot say the same for the local male.
Yeah. We don't know what they're doing.
I think that's like
Yeah,
35.
they're like, "Oh, shit, like, I should, maybe, I don't know, get married." But and the rest of us are like,
Stop eating peanut butter out of the jar for lunch.
"Yeah, no, I gotta actually start doing
Very
that."
true.
Yeah, but I'm like I turned 25 and I was like, "I have 30 minutes and I need to figure things out right now." And I felt like, even in my consulting job, for some reason, when I first started, consulting has a lot of stereotypes that we could get into, but we had a really strong community in my office. Like all of us were friends. We were on the same age. We would like hang out, get dinners, and people started leaving.
Was
Like
that in person?
it was not in person fully. It was like we had a couple of days out of the month that everyone decided we'd go into the office, and then we had a lot of like trips together as coworkers.
Mhm.
Which is also like a weird thing. I don't know, but like we do a lot of that stuff, and people started leaving like mass flight. A lot of people moved to the New York office. A lot of people decided to go get their MBAs. A lot of people started switching fields entirely, and
Mhm.
so I felt like people that I was the ecosystem that I had built for myself that like kind of made me forget that I was in a cog in a machine almost.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, it's like fine because like I have my people. Like I felt like a cartoon character. Like I had my friends and like we could just like do our thing. And they started leaving. And even outside of work, my friends started like going to get their second degrees, moving
Mhm.
back home. Like things were happening around me, but I was staying still. And I felt very anxious about that. Like I felt like, okay, like, but what am I gonna do? Like what am I have a lot of interests. I have a lot of things that I think are cool, but like
Mhm.
I'm not acting on any of those. I still have my job and nothing was changing. And so I kind of decided I was like, I need to stop. Like I need to actually ask myself, what do I care about? And that led me to being like, oh, maybe my mom was right. Maybe I should be a lawyer.
You did always wanted.
I've always
Yeah.
been socio-politically inclined. And I felt like in school, I was like, no, like I'm gonna go into like consulting and make a lot of money and like do all of that. And then I wake up and I was like, okay, like what is an MBA? I was like, oh, like, is that a real thing? And then I did more investigation and like, I don't know if I can say this, but I was like, oh, like I have no interest. Like I have no interest in that lifestyle. So ended up doing law school and deciding to take a gap year.
You can definitely say that. Please
Yeah,
elaborate.
I'm like, yeah, like, and I was at the heart of it. Like, I was in MBA factory. Like, I was like, this is where people go and get their MBAs. and I just couldn't. And I decided I was going to go to law school and take a gap year. And so I decided to move back home for a little bit and then go back to South Korea where I studied abroad and take a year off and just teach little kids English and make like not even a quarter of what I've been making now. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Make not even a quarter. Period.
Maybe less.
Just a dime.
Maybe a nickel on my good days. You know, like if I really put my mind to it, like maybe I can get $1. Like it'll be great. But yeah, that's what I've decided because I think I realized that like my sanity is worth more. You know, my sanity and my peace is worth more than the paycheck. And I'm excited for a new chapter. And why not? Like, I'll take a break. So that's what I'm doing. I'll be leaving and I'm very excited for it.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
Why did your mom say you should be a lawyer?
My parents, my mom's side of the family, I come from a family of lawyers. I don't. My mom's dad was a lawyer. I know one lawyer. I'm like, it's my legacy. It's like, no, it's like one lawyer. He's like, and we've been riding that train forever. But my mom always wanted to be a lawyer too. And I think she's always had that passion and she still wants to be a lawyer. I think she's like very adamant that once she like finishes like once she feels settled with us, I think as children, I think she wants to go. Like she's very determined. And so I think she's always been like, she loves to say this. She's like, Sydney, you need to be at the front of the courtroom. Like that's what she's always said. She's like, you need to be, you can't like her perception of what I do for a living is like very warped. I think she thinks like well, I guess it's not that warped, but I think she thinks that I like sit behind a computer all day and I don't talk to anybody. I think she thinks like I'm like closer to a coder because I'm a tech consultant, but I'm not. Like I like make Excels at max. You know, that's like the most that I do. Like her vision is like I'm in some sort of dark cave, like coding. She's like, you don't need to be back there. You need to be in the front. Like that's what she's always saying. I'm like, what do you think I'll be doing? I think she thinks I'll be like Viola Davis or something. Like I'll be like in the, but yeah, she's always like, yeah, like that's her image of like me being a lawyer. And I always kind of put that in the back of my head. But I don't know. I feel like as someone we went to a liberal arts college, like, you know, the bedrock of our education was asking questions and like being investigatory about like all these things. And I felt like I always had that, like that inclination of like, you know, being curious and inquisitive about the world and politics and, you know, social structures. I was an econ major, but I was struggling in every class. The only class that I didn't struggle with was public health economics and economics of crime. And I was like, okay, the writing was on the wall. Like, you know, like you need to just like, it's time to like look at the man in the mirror.
Health econ sounds interesting.
It was such an interesting course, like such an interesting, and it was more so about like the political aspects of it, like not really like I guess the economics. Oh, I guess we did talk about like the business of pharma and like why we end up in these like in the current state that we're in, but a lot of it was politics. Like I think for that class we had to go to like a city council hearing, like to like learn about how things get passed and like what you can do on a community level. So yeah,
I'm thinking about going that way.
Yeah,
like career wise.
Yeah,
just because looking at mental health and like the extent to which mental health is probably going to be replaced by AI, which is a tragedy. Well, pros and cons, but and then also looking at like the lifestyle that I want to lead, which is a crazy thing that I never thought I'd say because I've always like made fun of people being like, "Oh, I need to choose this job because I have a certain lifestyle." I'm like, okay,
great.
but after being impoverished,
Right.
as I was telling Sydney earlier today, UCLA like considered me an international student last year. And so even though like I was born here, I went to high school and college here, I vote here, my car is here. Like I'm literally from here.
Right.
But they like counted me as an international student, and then as a result, they just snatched $10,000 from me.
Will you just tell them why they considered you an international?
Yeah, why?
Because I lived in Texas for a year.
So Texas, that's the thing. Like,
It's another country. It's another land.
and I think that's wonderful. I'm like, damn, like,
yeah. And so when they obviously like $10,000 is so much money, so all of a sudden I was like close to being literally unhoused. Like I was seconds away from living in my car, which we all have one friend who was homeless by choice, but that's another conversation.
Do we?
So I, after becoming impoverished in such a way, I was like, okay, I need to have a certain like safety net and sort
Yeah.
of like the own lifestyle that I can provide for myself. And I've been joking, but am I joking? I would literally work for the Trump administration in order to avoid the level of poverty that
Yeah.
I was initially at.
But
Like,
that's
I
what I'm
won't
saying,
because
like
executive assistant.
yeah.
I can't interact with the man, but like
Yeah.
anything other than
Yeah.
that, I'm gonna have to be able to go
Because that's
into.
the thing, I feel like it's easy. I was having this conversation with my brother because as a consultant, you're in different projects, right? Like we have a lot of clients, right? So you end up working for a lot of different like clients right now. So like I was working for a major retailer before. Now I'm working for like a tech software client. So it's like all of these different things. And my brother, he's a software engineer. So like he, is a complete dork, but he like is in like this space where he's like doing all the things. And he was talking about how like a lot of people he works for Microsoft, but at the time he was still figuring out where he wanted to go. And I was like, oh, we should really consider like, the company values that you care about, right? And he goes, oh, like that's an interesting perspective because I was just trying to make some money. And I was like, I know, yeah, like we're all trying to make money, but you got to be careful or whatever.
Hmm.
And I was telling him for me, like there's certain places that I wouldn't work for. Like, we could think of a couple of big names,
Lockheed.
like yeah, Lockheed, Amazon, all these things. And he goes, yeah, but like Accenture has these contracts with like BlackRock. And I was like, okay, like you got me there. You know what I mean? Like I'm working for like, yeah, like at the base level, I get to pick the projects that I'm on, but the larger company at scale is
Right.
doing dirty
UCLA is
work. Like,
invested in Israel.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, yeah, like you got me there. Shit. Like I still I gotta survive. What do you mean to do? You know what I mean? Like, what can I do? And so that really it humbled me for a moment. I was like, oh, okay, like because yeah, like we would all like to think like I was at a party and they were talking about how some girl was like, I like your top, and the girl was like, oh, thanks, I got it on Amazon. She goes, oh, thanks, I'll like try to look for it. And she goes, I get nervous telling people that I got it on Amazon because so she said that once at a party and someone was like, you're still shopping at Amazon? And she was like, yes. Like, she was like she didn't know. She was like, I would never give my money back. Like and people at the party were just like these like,
And people be
radical. Yeah, like it's like you gotta,
on that.
and that's the thing. It's like it's true. Like there's different levels of buy-in for sure, but it's also at the end of the day, it's like what is it? You can't have. There's no like ethical consumption under capitalism. Is that what they say?
Hmm.
So it's like yeah, it's like we pick our battles, I suppose. But, yeah,
Yeah, and health econ is like one of the best ways to make
yeah,
money within the context of like what I study.
yeah,
But the issue
yeah.
is I feel like I fear that I would go into a company and then have to do a lot of like go work
Yes,
for Kaiser and then
yeah,
have to do a lot of cost benefit analysis of like what can I cut? And then
yeah.
all of a sudden I'm cutting people's jobs.
And it's like
So
oh, I
that's
don't want to
not
end
gonna
up
work.
like
Yeah.
yeah, that pipeline is strong. But you
Yeah.
gotta. I mean, yeah, everything within reason. But it's like I think that we need to give ourselves a bit of grace in terms of what we can do piecemeal by piecemeal in the current context of how we
Yeah, and it's all gratata until you're unhoused.
yeah
Like
it's like I can be on my high horse until like I'm literally eating like like a sleeper sandwich, you know what I mean? Like I literally have to like
yeah,
skip
the old duck
meals.
burger.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, well, I will do almost anything to
Like,
avoid
yeah,
that.
it's like of course I took the job. What do you mean? What does Coco Jones say? She's like, I'm an employee and I was gonna get a check. Like that's basically what it is,
Yeah, my
So,
sister
yeah.
was telling me about like some people that she knows that work for Palantir, and she's just like, but she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
to them it's just a job, like it's just a way to make money. It's like, but
Oh,
Yeah, there's actually one of my friends was saying, and not to just call out every now we're just like calling out every
It's like-
company.
like I know that this person is working there.
Yeah. But I do know one person who's a defense lawyer for ICE. Like protecting ICE.
Look, so
And she's like, it's just
I
a
take back
check.
everything I've said up until this moment. That's crazy.
She's literally like, it's just
No, it's not just that one is like, and I feel like this paints like a hypocritical picture, and I'm okay with that. That one is kind of great. I don't know, like that's a bit, but I mean, hey, it is a job. But I mean, this is the devil's advocate thing where it's like, okay, we can say that, but also like someone can say the same thing about where what we do, where we work. Like
no,
I
they
don't know.
can't. Unless this bitch is in poverty. And this is the only option.
Yeah. That's
There's no
true.
way in heaven or hell
Yeah, that's
that you
true.
should. Now, I did say I would work for Trump's administration. I did say that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
no, being like defending ICE, I
That's-
think is low key a crazy take, especially in this day and age. Like,
Yeah.
even if you were in it, like, I know
Yeah.
tons of cops that were in, like, really into policing before 2020, then
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is them
They're
on
like,
an airplane. So like, all of a
it's
sudden
true.
I
The
just,
context matters. The
yeah.
context matters. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I worry about eating at places like Chick-fil-A because I'm like, it's kind of immoral.
Yeah. I mean, I think about that nowadays with Starbucks. Like I haven't had Starbucks in what, like half a year, over half a year now. And I was at a conference and the only coffee that was around was Starbucks. I was like, I feel really shitty about it. But it's like, so I have, for example, I still haven't eaten at McDonald's. And I was like, okay, but like it feels almost like you're holding yourself at a standard where it's like, am I really like this wishy-washy as a person? But it's also like, I don't know. There's a lot of conflicting emotions around it.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
at an abolition conference, and unfortunately, my esophagus was jumped down when they saw me with the Starbucks coffee.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
was like, it's
yeah,
literally the only option at
yeah,
this airport.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I need to be
yeah,
awake. They were like, bitch, literally sleep.
yeah,
We don't care if you sleep through the conference. You're not supposed to be getting Starbucks.
yeah, yeah,
Damn, that's
yeah.
crazy.
Okay, I feel like the abolitionist conference though.
Wasn't the place to engage. And I'm aware of that. I am, but there was no alternative.
No,
in
not
the
even number.
airport.
It's like going there. It's like I know I'm about to get jumped if I bring this. It's like I'd pour it in like a mug or something. Like just
Gap
like,
is I didn't know. I was like, "What's wrong with
oh,
Starbucks?"
oh, you didn't know at the time.
I was like, is something wrong?
Yeah. So the reason I was able to make it work was because I had a gift card from before, like right before all of this went down. I got a gift card from someone. And I remember people were saying you could go into a Starbucks and they would like cash it out for you. They rejected it. I guess like management had caught up on the fact that people were like trying to pull their money out. So I was like, oh well, the money's already in there. So I was able to get around it that way. But it felt in the moment, even being in the space, I was like, I'm not like you guys.
What is wrong with Starbucks? I actually don't know.
It's the whole they were in trouble for two things actually. One being they're like really against their employees unionizing. They like really try to like squash that. And then post the October 7th, um, the event on October 7th, it came out that I think Starbucks was funding or supporting the IDF. I might be misspeaking or thinking of McDonald's, but yeah, they got in trouble for that. And so people were like, they were added to the BDS list, so they're like, do not support
Mhm.
them. McDonald's as well, and a couple other businesses. I think all of like Coca-Cola is like on it, like a whole list of places not to. Um, yeah. Granted, it's interesting because I feel like there were some places that like came out with statements, like McDonald's came out with a statement, um, but it still didn't. It wasn't. It's like not like the standard is very much like until we have like our demands met, you move forward. So it's like you make a commitment basically to be like indefinitely, we're done with it. So yeah,
Yeah. I feel like it's tough because so many of these big companies are so problematic, but then they pay well. I mean, not if you work
yeah,
at McDonald's, but
yeah. I guess not. Yeah, but in
but I
corporate
mean,
level, though. Yeah, yeah,
but then like if you want to do something that's like purely good, like work for a nonprofit, it pays like shit. So
yeah.
where do you find the right balance?
It's hard. We do have a nonprofit arm at my consulting firm. Um, and I think a lot of people get a lot of utility out of that because they get to do like nonprofit projects, but they're getting paid consultant salaries. Um, and so it's like hard. I also met when I was studying for the LSAT at a cafe, this guy like saw the book. There's like a popular book to study for the LSAT, and it had it in bold letters. And I'm like hovered over it. And like he goes, "Are you studying for the LSAT?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm a lawyer." And I was like, "Oh." And he like starts talking to me. And he was like, "Oh, like I do this, like I work for like a corporate law," but they let him do pro bono projects on the side. Like they're aware of it and they know. And so he's like, "Oh yeah, I feel like I won because I get to like make the salary that I need to make, but I also get to because I make that salary, I can afford to give my time to pro bono projects."
Mhm.
I think there's like ways to navigate around it. At least nowadays, and maybe not 20 years ago, but now there's
Yeah,
ways.
that's true.
Do you guys feel like there are any people that you admire or know who either A, like don't seem like a cog in the machine, like they live a very authentic and like non-traditional life, or B, they are a cog but they appear to be thriving? Like I feel like there are certain people where it's like they're like white, straight, they wear a high ponytail, they run on the weekends, they have a dog, like that sort of lifestyle, and they just appear to be fine with the like traditional ways that people might live their lives.
Mm.
So yeah, either like the admiration thing or the like thriving despite living a really traditional life thing.
Mm.
I feel like there are some people who are cog-like that appear to be thriving, but it's like they're delusional, in my opinion. Like, they're so entrenched in, like, the cog lifestyle or, like, in the system that they're in that they just don't even realize that they're part of the system. They're just like, "I'm succeeding because this is what people told me success looks like," and they're not, like, critically thinking about it. I don't know. But I feel like most of the people who don't seem to be living that kind of lifestyle are, like, influencers or, like, people who don't have traditional jobs, which can also be really hard to manage, or it can just be hard to, like, get that sort of career off the ground. And I think a lot of people are afraid of, like, failure, so they just choose a more predictable, secure path that usually involves them becoming a cog. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, I feel like I know like one girl for sure who just kind of is thriving, living like a pretty traditional life. And it's always been quite peculiar to me, given that like I just don't. Like, I very easily feel trapped, restless, start freaking out about what I was saying earlier, how humans are not supposed to live this way, randomly get a tattoo, book a flight, like just trying to like get out of feeling that
Yeah.
monotony. But I do think that it works for some people. I don't know if they're just delusional though, Amanda. Maybe they are. Maybe like later down the line, they're going to be the people having the midlife crises while I'm going to be like, fine.
I don't think they're all delusional, but, like, some people, maybe I just don't connect with them. Maybe I'm just like, "Ugh," like, that's not something I align with.
Sometimes I think that, like, they're satiated for real. Like, they're this is because it was always gonna be this. And so I feel like once they have it, it's like, well, what else would it be? You know? And maybe that is delusion. Maybe that is just delusion. Like, oh, like, if you don't think that there's anything better, then yeah, you would be happy too, I feel like. I don't know.
Content.
You'd be content. Um, I don't know. I feel like in LA, I have a lot of friends that are doing the non-traditional thing. And so I feel like I have a lot of actor friends, musicians, things like that. And I feel like I see both ends of it. Like, I see how fun their lives can be, but also how scary they can be too, where it's like there is no structure. There is no, like, they don't know where they're going to be in like a month. Like, they don't know what the ones that are successful and the ones that aren't. Like, sometimes they have faster, more successful months. Sometimes they don't. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like as someone who has a lot of interests and like a lot of passions and would love to, like, I see that and I'm like, oh, like, I wish sometimes that I was pursuing that part. There is a part of me that is like, I don't know if I could be comfortable like being unstable in that way for as long as I would need to be to ensure some degree of success. Like, you have to be okay with like not having work for like a couple of months. You have to
Mhm.
be okay with like not knowing if you're going to be out of town or moving or like trying to find new opportunities in another city or state or anything.
Or to be shit
Yeah.
out of luck like years down
For
the
years
line.
down,
Like
yeah,
I had
exactly.
a friend who tried to be a actress for 10 years and she like only ever had a few extra
Yeah.
like positions and then went back to school to be a social worker.
And that's, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I feel like the theme of my past couple years has been like, I don't want to regret anything. And I think when people hear that first, their concept is, I don't want to regret anything, so I should do the crazy thing because I don't want to. But I also mean it in the sense of
Mm.
the other side where it's like, I don't want to have done the crazy thing and regret that I didn't do the normal thing, you know? So it's really hard to figure out like what path that should look like. And as someone who like doesn't want to miss out on anything, it's like, why do I have to choose?
Mm.
But it feels like you do because you see, like, we're talking about people who live that cog life. And I feel like we all can point to people who are unhappy, like even, in my own life. But at the same time, it's like if I see examples of people who aren't doing what I'm doing and are just as scared and just as unstable and just as uncomfortable, it's like, I don't know, like it just
Mhm.
feels, it feels a little unsure. But I also have people
That's a
that,
good point.
yeah, it's hard. Like, what's the balance? But I also like people who live the cog-like life in a way that I think they are happy, and I think they're genuinely happy because they have the things that matter to them most. Like, I have a friend from college, he graduated, and maybe this is not cog-like, but he has he works in the foreign service, I believe, like, but in a locality in Latin America. He's Hispanic. So he moved there and he's staying like, it's a long-term, like, thing. He met his wife, they got married, they have a baby. He grew up here, he grew up in LA, but now he lives there. I don't know which Latin American country, I don't wanna be wrong, but he lives there with his wife. He basically only speaks Spanish now because, like, that's his life, with his wife, and his wife is fully, I think she's Brazilian, I think. So I'm assuming that's how they live, and, like, he seems so happy, but he has, like, a wife and a kid and a job. Like, that's, you know what I mean? It's very, and, like, his Instagram posts are very much like, he's our age, but they're very much like Facebook millennial. Like, I'm like, "You're really leaning into this life that you have." But I mean, he's thriving. Like, he seems the happiest he's ever been. And maybe that's enough. Like, maybe contentment is, like, what you make of it, like, what you need, and if those things are met, then yeah, like, a 9 to 5 doesn't really matter that much. I don't know.
Maybe it has to do with how much you value authenticity, and then
Mm,
as a result, like, what it what your authentic life would look like.
interesting. But, like, you living your most authentic self does look like that,
Yeah.
and, like, you're, yeah. Yeah.
Do you think it's, like, bad to be afraid of instability or the unknown? Like, do you think that that's, like, a fear that we need to get over, or do you think that some people's, like, personalities are just wired that way?
I think that I used to make more fun of it, or, like, think it was kind of a bad thing to lock into, but now I do think that there are certain personalities that are maybe just more naturally inclined towards that, and they would prefer to, like, follow a less risky career path that's, like, already very obvious, like becoming a doctor, for example. Um, and I'm starting to think more and more that that's, like, fine. Like, you
Mm,
don't always have to get over your fears in order to be able to, like, live a life.
mm,
It's just about, I guess, knowing what you value. And if you're okay with, like, it holding you back. Okay, this is something I've talked about a lot recently, but it just, like, really clicks for me. It's kind of tangential, but, like, I was talking about how I really want to be in a romantic relationship, and I'm thinking more about, like, long-term partnership and marriage, and it's, like, really something important to me. And people will say, like, don't focus on that, focus on your career, focus on your friends, focus on your family, which, as we all know, literally all of them are going fine. So I think that's
mm,
stupid when people say that. I'm like, I don't want to hang out with my friends
yeah,
any more than I already do. This
yeah,
is ridiculous. I already pour, like, a lot into these situations.
yeah,
But I was explaining to someone, like, worst things comes to worst. If I just follow the traditional path that I'm on, I become a college professor.
mm,
And then, like, the best career thing that could ever happen to me is that I own this, like, healthcare institution, and it has a financial stress component, and it has a peer respite center, and, like, blah blah blah, all of these different things. Worst comes to worst, in the romance department, spinster, alone, cats, etc.
right,
Never a cat,
yeah.
actually.
I was gonna say no cats for you.
No cats, just alone.
Oh.
And then best thing that can happen in the, like, lovey-dovey department in my head is, like, long-term partnership, marriage, maybe a child. We'll see. I'm vying to be a stepmom. And so it's like, I rather be a college professor with, like, the happy, healthy relationship
Yeah,
than have the healthcare institution and be completely fucking alone.
I see what you're saying.
And so I think, like, knowing what I'm willing to be risky in my job, but, like, not sacrificing the risks that I'm willing to take in the love component in
Yeah.
order to, like, fall in love and have that family, or even, like, move to a place where my husband or wife wants to, like, further their career and stuff
It
like
seems
that.
like it seems as though there's, like, a schema in your mind where you will be at a crossroads where you have to kinda, like, pick. Is that how you feel? Like, where it's like there are certain decisions that could lead you closer to the ideal in one state that would inhibit you in the other state?
Yeah, I don't think I have to pick per se, but I do think, like, the level of time or effort that I put in one or the other will impact the other. And so when
Mm,
people say, like, don't focus on a man, just focus on your career, it's like,
that's
no, I'm
true.
unfortunately still focusing on the
Yeah.
man. because this is something that's really important to me.
Yeah.
And I already focus enough on my career to get to like the lowest level that I would be comfortable with, like in my career. Like if I was not taking any sort of risks
Yeah.
in my career.
I feel like it's like a weird idea to tell someone to only focus on one thing, though. Like you can focus on everything at the same
But
time.
don't people do that with you? I feel like hella people do that.
Yeah, I feel like they do. They're just like when you're, not thinking about it, or like when you least expect it, that's when it's gonna happen. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's because like when you're moving towards like something that aligns with your purpose, then you meet people who also have those same values and interests, and that's what they're getting at.
Yes. Like you're in the same circles.
Yeah.
That used to be true. I don't think that's necessarily true anymore.
Which is what I try to tell people.
Like you're operating on a mindset that people were telling people before Facebook was a thing. Like that's like, oh yeah, just like live your life, do what you got to do, and then and like that could be true. You could be in the early 2000s, you could very well go to a bar, buy your med school or whatever, and like find someone, and then you guys hang out and write letters and shit. That is
Write letters.
that yeah, like that happens. You know what I mean? Like they would, I don't know, go on payphones and like meet each other across town. Like, and it's yeah, that happened. Now it's like, okay, like if I don't get your Instagram tonight, I may never see you again. And then I will never know where this could go. And then even on top of that, like even if after I get it, I'm still like, there's still a 50/50 chance that you never speak to this person. And like your values may not align. And I feel like we also are very strict with ourselves now in the world of like not just dating, but friendships. It's like there's a lot more things that could determine that we're not going to be friends than things that determine that we should be friends, if that makes sense. Like,
Because you have to be more intentional.
yeah, I think it's being more intentional
seeing each other.
about seeing each other, about your time. So it's like if there are things that I fundamentally realize, oh, we're not clicking on, if I don't have the time, if I can't make time for you, like I think we don't really have peripheral friends as much anymore. Like we have our friends that we make time to see because I have to like get on the pen to come and see you and like talk to you and like, carve out time. And I'm studying for this. And I have this workshop that I have to go to, and I'm like still trying to work on my job and stuff. So I have to be very intentional about making time for you, not just as like a romantic partner, but as a friend. And so I think that although people are well intentioned when they say like, oh yeah, like don't just like let it happen. I was like, I've been letting it happen for like 4 years now, and look what happened.
Yeah, you have to take like some steps toward
Yeah.
making it happen. You can't just like sit in your room and be like, it'll happen when it happens. But
Yeah, yeah, 'cause they won't, babe. They
Yeah,
won't.
and I mean the last guy that I dated seriously was my neighbor. So it does happen.
Okay.
But it's just like people say like, oh, just focus on your passion and then you'll meet them. I'm like, my passion is a remote podcast with my friend. Like that we edit via computer.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
just running into people in the
Yeah,
podcast
in
scene.
the podcast world, like you're adding simple syrup to your drink at the self-help station. Like, what are you working on?
like anyone but you,
Yeah, I don't know.
that scene in the coffee shop. I don't know if you guys watched it.
Yeah. I mean, my friend last night, she was telling me that she met her man at a bar. And it was a bar in LA that is, like, notorious for being, like, the worst bar ever. And I was like, "Wow, like, that's so beautiful, that's amazing." Um, and she was like, "Yes, like, don't knock it, like, go out there." I was like, "I'm not doing that. I'm so sorry, I can't."
Yeah, as we know, men are losing their social skills.
Yeah. There was a New York Times article, called, like, "Oh, men, where have the men gone?" Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
And it was talking about this very concept. They were like, "Yeah, like, women are" for some reason, there's been, like, a shift in the dynamics where like, it's not really clicking, like, the men don't really have the social skills to, like, communicate in the on the social spheres, like, online, and on top of that, they don't really want to. So it's like women are not finding, like, partners online, even though it seems like we're the more aggressive counterpart in the dating app world. Like, we're trying to make matches. We're, like, despite the hate like, the shitty conversations, we're trying to have this conversations and, like
I feel like men
yeah.
don't say the same though.
They don't they I think their perspective is different. I think that
Yeah.
they think that they're, like, trying. But I mean, like, okay, your version of trying is, like, swiping right on anything and anyone. and then inevitably being disappointed with what you have and not putting the effort into communicate with those women.
That's what, like, a lot of guys don't understand is, like, this whole like, women are tired of this whole roster thing, I think. And it's like,
Yeah.
I met this random guy who was, like, flirting with me and asked for my phone number, and then he started telling me about, like, the dates that he had been on and the dates he was going on, and I was like, "Well, I wish you luck with your roster." Like, and then
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, why would you feel the need to share that with me? Like, I don't like that's such a weird, yeah. Even I was telling Nirel that I was telling you before the podcast started. Like, I met these two guys, absolute weirdos, by the way. Still, like, I'm still shook up from the experience. But one of them was really like a really attractive guy, and I'm like, I can't even. I'm already going into this understanding that like just on the nature of how you look, I know for a fact that there is no way could be like serious because I know how men like you operate in this city at this age, and it's like, what's the point of even? It feels like I've tried really hard for the past 4 years to not develop this like disillusioned outlook on the dating sphere, but it's really
Some
hard.
people call it bitter.
Yeah. And it's getting there. It's getting there. And it's like, why would I don't know, it feels very like, why would I even put my effort and energy into something that I can kind of see the forest of the trees? Like I can kind of, um, and I feel like both sides are doing that. Like both sides are saying different reasons for this, but it all comes down to the fact that we don't want to like keep trying. Like we don't want to keep.
dating apps are, like, its own system that make
Yeah.
me feel like a cog
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I don't wanna contribute to this, like, unethical business practice.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 exactly. I mean, they've been sued like several times over like gamification of dating. And I fear that that gamification, even after all of this stuff, like you could see it all the time, like a new app will pop up. It's similar to like the coffee shops in K-Town where they're like a new one pops up every 5 minutes. Cause like, no, those other ones were bad in these ways. We've improved on it.
Mhm.
Come here,
Mhm.
right? There's so many other apps that are like that. They're like, every 5 minutes, they're like, oh, this is what was wrong with Tinder and Hinge.
Mhm.
We've perfected that. Come over here. And it's like, oh, like we have to realize that like the platform can be different, but the underlying issues are the same. And I say that because I think that even once we inevitably, our third eye opens and we're like, hey, let's uninstall like these apps, even after we like come to that conclusion, the problems that have because like the concepts of how you date and approach dating that have been affected by the dating like the online dating world, those are going to exist way after we all like decide that we're going to uninstall the apps. Like how we interact in real life, I think has been affected by those apps. Like we treat people as very disposable, like even as if you go to a bar and meet a guy, like I feel like it's the same way. Like it's all the online world has really like shaped those ways that we communicate. And I don't know if the apps collectively disappearing would change that. I feel like it's all kind of too late now. I don't know. It makes me sad, but I feel like that's how I feel.
Like some apps will like replicate things that have been trends in history, but we just didn't have the data to like note it.
Mm,
So, because I was listening to a podcast and it was talking about how like a lot of guys have had difficulty because they feel like the top 1% of men are
yeah.
the ones getting like all the women. And he was like, have we forgotten Genghis Khan? Like that has literally always been the case where like the men with the most
Yes.
power, like
They're always yes.
finances or
Yes.
whatever, have like 9 million wives.
Yes. Yes.
And so they were like,
True.
now the guy just has like a ton of matches. But
Yeah.
like that
That's
has
an
been
interesting point.
happening throughout the course of history. We just
Yeah.
like didn't really have the data to document like how that played out
Yeah. That's
or
very
didn't
true.
care enough about the data
Yeah.
to talk about it.
That's very true. It just looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're always like, oh yeah, the women of today. I'm like, I'm my ancestor. I don't know what you mean. Like this is the same. It's always been this way.
But people used to not have as many options because, like, they were just living in their small town. They didn't have it
Yeah. Oh,
easy.
that's true. Yeah. That also, I think, is affecting the psychology of it all. They're like, oh, like I have no options. Like, no, you have just the same amount that your father and his grandfather did. Like, but like they weren't even like they weren't trying to find baddies in Miami and they're living in like the Midwest. You know what I mean? Like they're not like it was all very different. That like if we grew up in like the 90s, I feel like we'd have the same amount of options that we did back then that we do now. Because I think people, if you kept it to like your age range, the people around you in your town, right? I feel like the apps make us think that things outside of those ranges are realistic. But in reality, it's like you're going to end up with someone like within, I don't know, 25, 50 miles of you that you can see regularly, get to know, eventually like that kind of thing. Unless you're out there on Facebook dating or whatever, and like you've got your like radius all the way out and you're willing to do that and make it work. Most people aren't, I feel like. When they're at the age that they're trying to like make things work, we keep it to like who's around, you know? Or at least that's what I think is happening. Yeah.
That's true, I
I
guess.
feel like for the most part, I mean, granted, you have stories of people like, oh, like I moved to a new city just temporarily to see how I would like it, and I found someone, and it was great, and then we ended up doing long distance, and
But you've always
yeah,
had that too.
yeah,
Like people who met when they were studying abroad,
yeah.
and then
It's
they
not
like I
different.
know multiple people
Yeah,
who
that's
did
not
that
different.
without dating apps. So
Yeah, there's always anomalies, but for the most part, I think people take issue with the fact that like they think it should be more than what it is. Like it should be more. I should have more options. But I don't know.
but alas.
But alas, yeah.
Do you think that people are getting more traditional in terms of how they see and feel relationships should be on the left? Because I feel like there's some folks, or there's a lot of conversation around like how on the right people are hoping to like replicate or return to more traditional lifestyles where the man was able to work outside the home, the woman was able to stay home, which is like economically very difficult for most people. Like, there are studies that show that many women would want to stay home longer with their child, but they literally can't. So, like, part of that traditional, like, idea is really it's not mute, but it's just so difficult to, like, make work that, in some ways it's unrealistic for a lot of people. But there's conversations about that on the right, but we're kind of talking about, like, people wanting to settle down more, like, not wanting the roster, wanting to get off dating apps, not wanting situationships, which sounds like trying to go back to something more traditional on the
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I guess it could be considered traditional, but I also just think it's more humane, like, to not treat someone like one of many options, to actually, like, invest time and energy into getting to know them and to be more intentional about, like, the people you're surrounding yourself with. Because 'cause I've never understood, like, why would I have a roster? Why would I have, like, a roster of people that I don't really like that much? And I'm just, like, rotating through people that I don't really like that much. Like, why wouldn't I just be keeping myself available for someone that I do really like and then just focusing on that person? And I don't really understand, like, why people feel the need to have, like, backup options and this person on the side, like, I don't know. I don't get it.
I think that it's like an exhaustion, like a collective exhaustion, I think. And it was so interesting. I was listening to the Modern Love podcast, and they brought on a woman who had an essay about how she divorced her husband, I think, when she was 50. And where they divorced, and like she was talking about how her sex life like was the most active it's ever been, like at this age.
Mhm.
And there was like a little moment where she was like, yeah, like the young people just aren't having fun anymore. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I realized I was like, oh my God, she's right. Like none of us are like we're all kind of like in this weird like roster situationship, which inevitably leads to a lot of us like not participating at all. I think there was like a study done that showed most of us are like celibate. Like most of us are just like not
I
engaged
say
with
all
it.
the time that I'm an incel.
Yeah.
And people get mad, but like I'm like, I don't hate women. I'm not a misogynist. I am involuntarily celibate. I go out
No,
looking for people at
and it's like
no
not
location.
no,
Yeah.
literally they're saying like, yeah, like the people our age, like we're not having sex. And then when she said it, like she got a lot of like backlash for it. Because like young people were kind of hurt. But it's true. Like we're not because we like you have this incongruence, right? Where you have this concept that you were saying, Amanda, where it's I don't like I especially I don't want a roster. I realize that about myself. Like I'm not the type. And also I'm not gonna be on someone's like that's not something that I'm down to do. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And so you have this like battle of like, okay, who's gonna cave? Who's gonna be willing to be in a non-committal like situation just for the sake of having something? And who's going to be able to do what they want and like exist in this way for people who like have that ability to like be super casual and nonchalant about things and that kind of thing. And I think it's interesting because I do feel like the left is moving towards that traditional way because of these feelings of just like being disgruntled about the nature of it. And it's interesting because like I think society is becoming more conservative in that way in general.
Hmm.
And it's interesting to see how the left kind of reacts to that. Because it's true, like people are like, I don't like I want to have a kid and I want to be able to be a mom, but like the world that we live in is not conducive to that. Like it is super expensive to have a child. It's super expensive. Childcare is super expensive. If I decide to like take off work to like be a full-time mom, I become dependent on my husband's income. If we get divorced, I'm fucked basically. Like the world does not revolve around being a child carer anymore. And there's no social safety nets in place. But like if we're a lot of women would run back to that. Like just because it's easier and like it makes being a mother easier. And it's weird because I feel like for the past couple of years, that perception has been antithetical to what the left is claiming to
Want.
support and want. And so it's hard. Like I feel like it goes back to the larger conversation about being a cog in a machine. It's like being a cog in a machine is still frowned upon socially, but there are some things that you want that only fit into that. Like, oh yeah, you have a dad that works 9 to 5 and a wife that stays at home. These are cog-like lives to live, right? But we want some of it and not all of it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think is most difficult, and I wrote an essay about this in undergrad. Like, it's hard. It's easy to go along with just whatever society says, but it's also low key easy to just do the opposite. What's
Mm,
hard is like picking what part of this you want. Like, how are you traditional? How are you unconventional? And trying to create a life not only for yourself but with someone else that's
yeah,
able to like incorporate those things that sometimes are intention,
yeah,
sometimes just have nuance or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think being able to admit that about yourself, like I'm a pretty traditional person
Mm,
within the context of romantic relationships.
yeah,
I've had tons of like experiences that are not, and I'm sure will continue to in like some ways. But the way that I operate and prefer with men, especially, is just like a more traditional setup. And
yeah.
I can get into like what I mean by that in another podcast episode.
Mm,
But I think being able to like say that and get a response that's like, "Oh my god, that's so cool," because 'cause you're living your truth,
yeah,
doesn't always happen.
yeah, yeah,
On, like, every side of the
yeah, yeah,
political
yeah,
spectrum,
yeah.
yeah.
That's true.
Amanda, do you think that what it means to have a traditional or normal life is changing? Not just with dating, but also, like, with work, like, with a lot of people going into being an influencer or something like that used to be considered creative or different, but now it's like, everybody wanna have a podcast, you know? Do you think that there have been some changes?
I don't know, I was thinking about this in college, like, how women used to be expected to stay at home, but now it's like they're almost expected to do everything, like to work and to take care of children and to, like, cook and clean and whatever. And then if someone does just wanna be a stay-at-home mom, they get a lot of flack for that. But it's like, wasn't this supposed to be about, like, freedom of choice so we can do whatever we wanna do?
Yeah.
Not, like, to have this other set of expectations be forced upon us, you know?
There is, like, also people that still get made fun of, or people are like, "What are you doing?" when you've just low-key been single your whole life. Like, there's a girl that I know that is, I think, 30, and she's never dated. She once had, like, a 2-year situationship or something like that, but she's never, like, had a significant other, and my jaw dropped when she said
Mhm.
such a thing. I was like, "You literally never dated throughout the course of your entire life in, like, 3 decades?" And she was just like, "No." But she's very like that. Like, that it makes sense for her, but I was just so surprised.
Mm,
And she said people really shit on her for that in the same way that they'll shit on me for, like, being willing to sacrifice something within my career in order
yeah,
to, like, put my time into romance. So,
yeah. You can't win. That's the hard part. Yay!
which is why you have to find your authentic
Yeah,
truth.
yeah, yeah. I feel like you might not agree with it, but, like, internally, I don't feel like being I'm not being dishonest with myself, and that's the only way, I think.
Mhm.
I feel like that could overcome a lot. Like, I feel like I definitely growing up, especially in college, I felt like I was listening to a lot of people just for the sake of, like, listening to folks, and I'll never forget, like, because I also have not been in a relationship yet. I remember there was this guy that I really liked, and I didn't, like, necessarily want to pursue anything serious with him, but I just wanted to spend more time and, like, hang out, and I had 2 of my friends in my room, and they were, like, sitting, like, "It doesn't make sense, what are you trying to get?" And I had just learned the word, like, platonic, I think it was, like, a platonic romantic
Romantic friendship?
it was not a romantic friendship, but, like, something that was a little bit, there was a level of intimacy to it, but it was more platonic. So yeah, I guess maybe romantic friendship would be a better word. But at the time, that wasn't the word we were using. But yeah, something like that. And I remember I was like, yeah, like, can I have, I guess we were saying platonic intimacy. I think that's the word we're using. And I was like, is it wrong to just want that? Like, can I just have that? Because I'm not, obviously the time that we're in, like, it wasn't going to work to anything really serious, but I still wanted to have fun. And they were like, well, you need to work on loving yourself first. You need to work on like finding who you are and like all of that. They both they had both been like chronically in relationships and were in relationships at the time. Like they didn't know how to be single. And I remember being like, oh gosh, I guess they're right. Like maybe I shouldn't try this with this person. Like I should just like try to love myself. And like I went on a walk, and I think I went to your place, like because you were in North at the time, or not North.
We were in North.
Yeah, maybe it was North. But I remember trying to like walk over to your place, and I was like, wait a minute, that's stupid. I was like, why would like I was like, what do they mean by that? Like, if you can't like two folks that again I still love and respect them and adore them, but like they both needed to be in relationships at the time. Otherwise they didn't feel whole. Like they both like were on and off in relationships at the time. And it's like, okay, they have this lifestyle. And then I was being criticized for like a kind of like counterpoint way of living that was working for me at the time. But it was like, I wouldn't want to be where you guys are at. I wouldn't want to do what you're doing, but I wouldn't be like critical of that because again, it's like it's freedom of choice. Like this is what works for you. Like you want to be in relationships consistently. This is how it works. If this is
Also,
what I could
that's
take.
giving projecting.
Oh, 1,000%.
Like, I think you need to work on loving
No, because this was like who, like fully loves themselves. Like I like you're not like reaching this point of enlightenment. You like levitate. You're like good. Like I'm fine, and you get a relationship. It's like there are plenty of things that we can work on at any given moment. And so at the time I didn't recognize it, but I felt like in hindsight I was like that was so disingenuous. Like come on, you know what I mean? But again, you can't win for trying. Like either like I can find fault in what they're doing, you can find fault in what I'm doing. Like you have to just find what works for you. And I think once I realized that, it was quite freeing too, because it was also like, I cannot afford in this economy to worry about what other people think about how I'm living. Like, I gotta get happiness where you can get it. You know what I mean? Like, especially in this current climate. I don't know. Yeah. But I never forgot. It was such like a gloomy day. I was like walking through North alone. I was like, why would they say that? I was so like distraught.
It's really annoying when people say that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I feel like loving yourself is like an ongoing process, so we're all trying to figure out how to do. I
Yeah.
mean, like I think it's important to have standards and to respect yourself so that you don't choose the wrong people.
Mhm.
But I think like yeah, there's no like point you're going to reach where you're like finally I love myself enough.
Where's my relationship?
Yeah, relationships can help you love yourself because they
Yeah.
can help you affirm that like certain things that you thought were an issue actually aren't an issue, or make you like more solidified in the fact that you are attractive and attractive to the kinds of people that you would be attracted to. Like there's so many things about yourself that you can fall in love with through the process of
Yeah.
being in love with someone who loves you.
Yeah.
And so, like, to cut yourself off from that, and mind you, like, there are plenty of, like you said, like, self respect is so important. And
Yeah.
historically, I haven't really been rocking with that. And so, unfortunately, I did end up in some less than ideal situations. But
Yeah.
I do think that, like, there are also so many things that, like, healthy love
Yeah.
can offer in terms of helping you to see yourself more accurately in a way that, like, will make you love yourself more.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's true.
True.
Amanda, you were talking about earlier how like some personalities are a bit more risk averse, which is why people will be like less likely to take risks when it comes to their lifestyle. Do you think that there are some like identities, like race or gender, or like personality, like you were saying, that makes it harder to pursue a life that like fully identifies or aligns with your goals?
Um yeah, I mean I think if you grow up poor then you're more focused on just making money and having a stable life, or if you grew up in like a volatile household like with parents who were abusive or something. I think like if your parents have a lot of expectations for you or if your family is like pressuring you to do a certain thing, it's kind of hard to fight against that when you're young. And so it might take you longer to realize like, oh no, this is what like I value. This is what I want for myself. Um but yeah, I think some personality types are more inclined to want stability or to want like a path that is set out for them. But I think every career has some sort of risk attached to it. Like you think, oh, being a lawyer is not risky, but it's very difficult still. And like it can still be hard to get a job and it can be hard to like practice in the field you want to practice in. And you're still going to have to take risks to do what you want. So I don't think your sole reason for not pursuing a particular career should be like, oh, but it's scary. Like, I don't know. And I think like some musicians that I've listened to talk about like their careers and how they got into music, or like, you know, more creative people, they'll say like, oh, I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. Like, this is the only thing I was good at. So I think that's something to consider. Like, if you're literally only good at one thing, then you should probably, or if you're only passionate about one thing.
It's like I have no choice but to pursue this. Yeah.
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 Alternatively, if you're uniquely bad at one thing,
Yeah.
then maybe we shouldn't be on American Idol.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
one last
Yeah.
question, because I know you have to go, Amanda, but I just wanted to ask if you feel like there's been any like moment where you kind of similar to Sydney, like have had some sort of revelation of like, okay, I want to be living my life in a different way, or like you have understood your values, or like what makes your life feel authentic, or what makes you feel alive. Um, and like, has there been a moment that you've experienced that?
Well, I feel like growing up in Silicon Valley, like there's a lot of pressure to do something traditional, especially in STEM, like science, technology, engineering, computer science, whatever. Um, and to do something that like makes money. And so I think that was part of the reason that I chose my career path, not the entire reason, but like I wanted to do something like prestigious and like something that a smart person could do. And then like also thinking about what your family members do can guide you because you're just familiar with like their career paths. But then like I was thinking about what really made me joyful as a kid, and I was like, I need to like go back and incorporate some of that into my life now because I feel like that's missing. Like I feel like I'm not connecting with my inner child or whatever. And I need to like pursue an area of law that incorporates that, or I need to like have different hobbies that add more creativity to my life. So I don't know if there was like a single moment where I was like, oh my God, I've had an epiphany, but it's like a gradual realization that like now that I've like gotten to the point that I was trying to reach for so long, like I've passed the bar and I'm a lawyer, I'm like, okay, but how do I have the life I want to live?
Okay, time to put a bow on it, party people. That looked very enthusiastic. um, so we have to head out. We'll see you the next time, and until then, have good experiences.